Hi there, you guys. So I just wanted to jump on, excuse me, and share a little bit about the World Massage Festival event, how the event went for me as a vendor, and what I've learned over the years doing events like this. And so I've been doing the World Massage Festival as a vendor since 2017. And so of course, we missed a few years because of COVID, but I believe this is my fourth year as a vendor. Um, and yeah, so I've put a lot of effort into my booth over the years, and I've had very mixed um, feelings about how it's gone from like just complete and utter, like that was a disaster. I am a complete failure to that was cool, but I wish I'd made more money to this year where I think I finally hit my stride and just realized, you know what, for what I do for selling online courses and coaching, um, and things I'm probably not going to sell a whole lot at the event. People love to buy like massage tools, products. This year I did sell some books. That was nice. I did like that. But it was like, I just think that for me, it was like I needed to realize what is realistic for this type of event and to really leverage the event in ways that are going to be the most beneficial to me. So, like all years, I focused on um, having people get my free ebook or free gift and join my email list. Hello, how are you guys? Say hi if you're on live. Um, so I definitely want to build my email list. That to me is the most important thing that I can do. And the second most important thing I can do is network with other professionals because I do run some yearly online events for the massage and spa industry. Focusing on my networking, I felt like was key. And having my focus on those things rather than, if I don't sell this much of whatever at the event, then it wasn't a success has really helped my mindset. And this year I wanted to focus even more on like just letting it be fun, trusting that everything was working out, the way that it should. And I invited a couple of other authors in the massage and spa space, Felicia Brown and Terrence Bonner, to come and share my booth with me, which was just perfect. I'm so glad that I was able to do that because it can be kind of boring to do that long of an event. There are long stretches of time where people are in class and it can get really slow in the vendor hall and it can just get really tiring. So having some kind of other people there to trade off with and to watch the booth while I went and networked and vice versa was very helpful. So kind of my takeaways in AhHas are, have realistic, reasonable expectations when you do an event. And I hear this all the time from massage and spa owners that they felt like their event was a failure because they didn't get appointments booked. Well, that might not be a realistic expectation for an event. And a realistic expectation might be something more like, I'm going to try to meet and introduce myself to 20 new people. And that's something that you can measure and that you have control over. Like that's what I came to realize is, okay, I don't have any control over whether or not people, hand over their credit card and buy from me at the event or not. But I do have control over, how many people I go up to and speak to and introduce myself to. And I do have control over, um, showing up and setting a goal for collecting email addresses or something like that. And I have control over, what I make mean that it's a success or a failure, right? So I have a whole list of people to follow up with for my online events. I have a whole new list of massage therapists to add to my email list. And so to me, that is a win-win. And I think, you know, I think one of the hardest parts of doing events is putting that time and energy and money out there without that any kind of a specific guaranteed return. But it's like any other kind of marketing. It takes time. You're planting seeds, and there are no guarantees of having any kind of specific return. Um, and we certainly don't expect like a Facebook ad to start working in the first even couple of weeks. So to show up at an event for 2 days and have this, big expectation is, in my opinion, kind of setting myself up for disappointment and feeling like a failure. And it doesn't need to be that way at all. So that being said, I do have lots of tips for making your events a success, making them feel like a success. And one of the biggest ones is to actually do your follow-ups. If you meet people at an event and you trade information, make sure that you actually follow up, because that can go a really, really long way. And, realize that a lot of the value of going into an event is to be there with the other vendors and the other people that are at the event. So get your networking on. It's not all about the people that are walking by your table, because a lot of those other vendors, they may be in contact with your ideal clients, and you may be in contact with their ideal clients, and you may be able to put together some really amazing win-win partnerships that are much more valuable than, just a new client or two, or in my case, a sale or two. So just some things to keep in mind. I encourage you to get out there, just get out of your comfort zone, keep trying new things. I mean, this was my 4th time at World Massage Festival as a vendor. And honestly, it was the first time I've ever felt like, yeah, that was really, really successful. And I think it was because of managing my expectations, sharing with other entrepreneurs and authors, and just having that group energy. So that would be another tip I could give you, is anytime you can partner up with somebody, maybe you have businesses that complement each other, and you can really support each other, keep each other motivated and excited, and even take turns staying at your booth or your table, and going and taking a break or networking or something like that. So that was a really great addition. And then we had really thought through, how could we make our booth fun? And that's one thing I love about the World Massage Festival, is it is a very fun festival, and there is a lot of good energy there. So my friend Felicia was there with her ducks and her positive thought cards. So people really liked getting a little lucky duck, and some of the other things that we had there. So we had a prize drawing. Yeah. And overall, it was very successful. But I could, if I wanted to, pick it apart and say, well, I didn't make as many sales as I had hoped, but I did make more sales than I have made in past events, for sure, because I realized after doing a few events, people at the World Massage Festival like physical products. They want to buy goodies they can take home. And so that's something to keep even more in mind for, for next year. How could I take that realization to the next level? And there was one more, but I can't remember it. So I'm going to leave it right there. But get out of your comfort zone. See what kind of events are coming up in your area for the rest of the summer. Fall is usually chock full of events, and I just want to encourage you to get out there and to try some new things. And if they don't feel like they worked, figure out why and try again. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater and say, I don't feel like that event worked, so I'm not doing events anymore, right? So I'll see you guys later. Have an amazing rest of your day. Check out my festival specials. They're on sale through Sunday. I have 3 different workshops marked down to just $19 each. And one of those is my ChatGPT for marketing workshop, my events workshop. So much deeper dive into events and specifically for massage and spa businesses, and my writing to sell workshop, which is kind of a best kept secret type of workshop. I taught it a few years ago. I think it is something every single therapist should take. So I often add it as a bonus when I'm selling other courses because it doesn't fly off the shelves. But being confident in writing your website pages, your newsletters, your social media posts, and learning how to get into the mind of your ideal client so that you can write to them more effectively is so very, very important. So check out those workshops. Check out the Spa Starter Kit. They're all over 60% off. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.